Hello and welcome to All About Halo Reach, the toy line. This is the second video I'm doing. It's right after the size comparison video. This one's going to be all about the articulation in the Halo Reach toy line. These videos are so that I don't have to explain all this when I'm doing the video, so I could keep it short. Like I mentioned in my vlog, I could say this guy has standard human articulation, standard brute articulation, or vice versa, and etc. So let's go with the Halo 3 line of figures from ODST. We got Dutch here. Let me see, I have John Forge. He's not from the ODST, but he did come out like around the Halo 3 line. Wow. He has some different points of articulation, but I guess when I review John Forge, I'm gonna have to go through his articulation because it's totally different, totally weird. So Dutch has a ball jointed head. He has these are swivel shoulders. He does have a joint here on his underarm that lets his arm go up and down. See? Big swivel for the shoulder. Then he has just a hinged elbow. Doesn't swivel here. Let me see. Under his armor plate, he does have a swivel for his arm. Under this. On the wrist, he has it's a hinge and it's on a peg. This hand came out when I bought him, so you can see how that works. It's a peg that goes in here, spins on a hinge. He does have a mid-torso joint, but because of all all this that he has on his torso, I think it's a belt. You can only get so much articulation. No waist that I can tell of. At the hip, his legs, his hips are divided in two, with this joint going up and back. And then there's a peg that goes into the leg to allow for some swiveling. His knee only has one point. It's not double jointed. And on his ankle, let me see. I can't tell what it is. I think it's like a hinge. It's not a ball joint, and he has no foot joints. So that's it for Dutch. There's a lot of articulation, but because of his armor, he can only move his body so much. But the reason that I got this figure was the design. I had seen him for a while. I think the Death's Head design with the teeth was really cool. And yeah, the backpack's a plus. There is a Dutch that's coming out with a revised Spartan laser. So wow, 4 minutes on Dutch. Let's see if I could do this any quicker. So now we got the Marine. Hooah. This guy I customized. I shaved down his neck. I mean, there was part of his head sticking out from under his helmet, but since I got rid of that, he can look side to side. His head's on a ball joint. It's a double ball jointed. It's like a ball in his head and a ball in his chest. His shoulders can go round, and you can see here there's like a ratchet for the joint. He doesn't have no elbow swivel, so he can only bend his arms up like that. It's a major complaint for a lot of people, but I don't care. Then the wrist, just like Dutch, swivels and it moves up and down. Has a mid-torso joint, and looking at his butt, you can see that he has the same articulation at the hips like Dutch, and then his legs can swivel down here. At the knee, he only has 1 point there, and there is a swivel at the top part of his leg. I mean at the top part of the knee. And finally, there's it's a double ball joint on his foot. See, his foot can go forward and back and side to side, which is pretty good. So if you like articulation, you should like these figures. Alright, let's go into the standard Spartan articulation. This is a Spartan 2, I mean a Spartan 3, this is Caboose. Hiya! As you've noticed with the Marine, not so much with Dutch, most of the Reach figures have ratcheted joints, which is pretty cool. Everyone loves ratchets. So Caboose, he has the peg on his head is extra. I think they might have taken one from the leg and put it on his neck, which is not cool. As you can see, there is a ball in the head, and then there's a ball in the chest, like I mentioned. It's like it looks like a dumbbell. So that gives good head articulation. The shoulders can go around, and as you can see here, there's a ratchet, so they can go up. On the elbows, there's a joint here. It plugs into the upper arm and swivels. As you can see, it swivels independent from the top part and the bottom part. So you gotta align the joints a lot. But you get good articulation because it's ratcheted. It'll stay the way you want it to. It doesn't bend so much, but it's good enough. Then at the wrist, you got the same thing. It's pegged into the lower arm here. You can swivel. It's ratcheted too, and the hand can move like that, up and down. And you gotta align the. Wait, let me see. Just like with this joint, you have to align them to get it just right. It looks like the peg is out. Wow, that looked like it was gonna come out. So with the mid-torso, you got a joint there. It's a ball joint. You can move your feet like, wow, an explosion of flavor. Or like this for sitting in vehicles like that, for flying through space. Goodbye, giant friend. What I like about the Spartans is the hips. You have this joint like Dutch and the Marine has. It's like the hip is divided. But then also you got a ball joint into the leg and a ball joint into the hip. I think I showed you guys with the jackal. I'm gonna show you guys again, but with the skirmisher, so his legs can go out that far, so he can ride a vehicle. And with some twisting, you can get him to squat or to sit on something. So that's cool. Then you got the knees. They bend this much. There is like a peg into the upper part of the thigh, so the legs can swivel like that. Not a lot because of the armor. The armor blocks the leg. But on George, well, as you can see, when it's not bent, it'll swivel all the way around. And then there's a joint here in the ankle, which is ratcheted. Even though the one on the knee is ratcheted, it's kind of loose. But this one on the ankle is ratcheted, and you can hear it. And it swivels. Swivels at the bottom, swivels at the top. And then last is I think it's an unnecessary joint. The female Spartans don't have this. Cat and Rose don't have this. It's this mid-toe articulation here. It's pretty cool. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't do stop motions or articulated comic book art, but I can see how if you need to get a running pose, you can put that foot like that. See, so that's it for the Spartan articulation. So now we're gonna go with the Covenant. First up is the Grunt. Is that food nipple still waiting for you, bub? So at the neck, at the head, he has a ball joint at the top of the neck, and then there's a piece here, and then it plugs into the chest. I'm guessing be a ball joint because it moves. So this neck piece moves. That's what I mean. So that's some good articulation for a grunt. Then you got the shoulders, which can go all the way around and then go up and down. They're not ratcheted though. At the elbows, you only get one joint. It's a swivel. And since the lower arm and the hand are this big clump of plastic, that's it for the articulation on the arm. You do get a mid-torso joint, but there's not a lot you can do with it. And then at the hips, you got a swivel here, and then you got knee articulation, but you got to use the swivel just right so you can pose him standing up straight. Because if you swivel like that, there's no way. His leg is sideways. So if you want to get him to stand up, you gotta pose it so that his feet are flat on the floor. The grunts have weird feet, but it helps him stand. So every time you put a grunt down, he's gonna stand up. Next up, we got the skirmisher. Muy mijo. This guy, as you can tell, has trouble standing up. Let's take off his mask. So the head can swivel up like that. His hair is molded so that it fits on the back. Then you have his big neck here with a collar, and there is a swivel on the neck, as you can see. Rawr. Then you got ratcheted shoulders that the arms go up like that, all the way around. There is a swivel up here. That feels like it's gonna break. So here's a swivel on this arm, and then you got elbows. It's just one point of it, just a hinged elbow. And then you got the wrist. The wrists are like it's ratcheted. I could feel the ratchet, and it can swivel. Has 2 points of swiveling, one inside the arm and one inside the hand. You got a mid-torso joint here. And then you got the hips. This leg comes off. As I was explaining earlier, it's a ball joint it's a ball in here and a ball in the leg. So it's a double ball jointed. The ball has a little points so it can grab on, I guess, so it won't just spin around. There is a swivel at the thigh, but there's this big piece of armor here, so it doesn't go nowhere. It does turn a bit, but you'll be forcing the armor to move. And then you got a 1 point articulation here at the elbow, and there is a swivel. This part of the leg is one solid piece, so this doesn't move. But if the joints weren't so loose, I'm sure he wouldn't have so many problems standing. Before the Grunt, he was like the last of the Covenant that I bought. And he's a kind of a peg warmer, I guess, for those problems. Then at the ankle, you got, it's a ratcheted joint. It's plugged into this part of the foot, of the leg, and then the foot can swivel. But the armor kind of gets in the way. But it can swivel if you force it like that. So that's it for the skirmisher. Remember that all these figures, like all the skirmishers, have the same articulation, and all the grunts and the Spartans. So now we're moving on to the elite, everyone's favorite covenant soldier, on 20 minutes. I'm sorry I can't edit the video. My video editor is not accepting ASF files, and I used to be able to edit these in Windows Movie Maker, and now it's like not. So up here on the head we got 2 points of articulation. There's a part up here at the top of the neck, and then there's one in the chest. See? The shoulders, because of the armor, go out this much and then rotate like that. If it wasn't for the armor, I think they would be able to go straight. Then you only got 1 point of elbow articulation here. It only moves that much. Let me take that off. At the wrist, you got a joint here, which plugs into the arm, and it could swivel. And at the hand, you got one joint that lets these 2 fingers move up like that, just like that. Tug to the hand. There is a mid-torso joint here. He can bend forward and back, but because of his armor, not side to side. At the hip, the legs are plugged in. It's a swivel. Well, it's a double ball joint, but because of how the hips are made, it's a swivel. Let me show you guys. I just recently took out my general from Series 5, and I was pulling him by the leg, and it came out. So this is what the elite leg looks like. And here you have, it doesn't seem to move. Looks like it's just pegged in. It's not like the jackals that can move, but so it's basically a swivel here at the leg. Womp, womp, womp. Womp, womp. Alright, that means he's gonna keep on. He can do it. So the knees, you have articulation here. The knees can only bend this much. There is a, let me see, I think there's no swivel. And then the last point we have, a lot of people have complained that the Halo Reach Elites they're accurate to their CG renders, that the feet aren't flat, so that they have trouble standing. But they are plugged in to the lower leg and can move like that, up, down, and around. So that's it for the elites. Let's move on to the last, the brutes. Wow, it's brighter, right? All of a sudden it's bright. Alright. So, with the brute, there is no, as you can see, the head and the neck are cast as one piece. Brutes all have an articulated jaw, roar, and their heads can swivel like that. If you see, it's you could probably get a peek in there. It's a double ball joint. So there's a ball joint in the head and there's a ball joint in the chest. So you can get some good range. Rawr. Which is pretty cool. Then the arm can go up this much and rotate around. And as you can see, there's the ratchet at the joints. Then you got a swivel here at the top of the arm. But because of this cool, soft shoulder pauldron, you can swivel with some ease. Then you have the elbow, which is ratcheted too. And if you align the pieces right, you can get him to bend it this much. And then the hand feels like it's on like on a ball joint. It can go in like that and out and swivel. You got the mid-torso joint here, and you can move it side to side a bit forward and back, just a bit. Then you got the hips, which just like with the elites, I think it's just a swivel. So it's two ball joints like the Spartans. No, even the elite has that, but one of the ball joints inside the body doesn't move. Then you got the knees, which you bend this much, and they're all on a swivel. And lastly, you have ankle articulation. It's just like two ball joints. You can see the peg in there. I see it. And that's it for the articulation. This 30-minute video was brought to you by Aries083 and his eBay account. Now I've listed some some Halo Reach figures, including one Brute Chieftain, one Elite, one Elite Ranger. There is a Carter and a George and a Cat that I listed. So there's no pictures yet, but the listings are there. Buy if you like. If you're impressed with Halo Reach and want to try them out, what better place than, the internet? Or if anything, you could just walk into your local Target and pick up an unhelmeted Carter or a George at your local Rite Aid. Thanks very much. Leave any comments. I'm sorry this video was too long, but I hope it was informative. Thank you very much. This is Aries083 saying I'll see ya in the toy aisles. And no, I'm not a scalper. Bye.